Welcome, everybody. My name is Joe Wachowski. My company's Traction Consulting Group. Appreciate you taking the time this afternoon to sit in on this webinar. Just a real quick one, just regarding Dynamics 365. So there's a new release coming out. Some of you may or may not have seen it, as well as there's a bunch of functionality within Dynamics that many of our clients aren't really aware of. So I wanted to put this together to just show you what's coming, as well as help you understand maybe some of the capabilities that you're not taking advantage of that you can. We can make this interactive, so if you do want to chime in and ask a question, please feel free to unmute yourself and just ask away. It's kind of a small group; should only be 5 or 6 of us. So feel free to make this time about you and get what you need out of it. A little bit about Traction. I like to look at this one pager as pretty much summing up what we do. Our core of what we help clients focus on is the sales, operation, marketing sections, right? So leveraging tools like CRM, leveraging tools like ERP, leveraging the different marketing solutions out there and how they integrate with both the sales funnel process, as well as maximizing our engagements and touch points with customers to make sure that we have customers buying for life. We also are heavy down here in training and mentoring. We believe that's kind of our foundation. A lot of times customers have a lot of tools, but they don't necessarily know how to use them. So I think that we're technology experts. We really spend the time honing our craft and understanding about our clients, and we like to educate them on how to use the systems they probably already have, just as much as we enjoy rolling out new systems and new capabilities to clients. And then finally, our last piece of the puzzle is just on the strategic execution side. Often we are that ally, that solid voice, or maybe that IT voice that's either aware of things that your team isn't capable of spending the quality time and training on, or just a secondary voice, right? So how do we inject ourselves within our clients to make sure that from a strategic execution standpoint, the leaders in the company have what they need to drive initiatives down through sales, operations, and marketing, but at the same time, make sure that everybody is aware of all of the things that can be taken advantage of without always trying to build something new or fresh. And then the final piece I just want to bring to your attention, I believe that we're a rock solid service company. We've been rated a 9+ on our monthly service rating for more than 2 years now. We do boast same-day service, so if you have an issue or you need some support or you need some training and you need it today, we're uniquely set up to do that, and not many consulting service companies are. So that's enough about me. Let's kind of dive right into it, right? So Dynamics 365. There's a new branding initiative. It used to be called Dynamics CRM. There were different Dynamics products. It really was this, you focused more on the product, right? So Microsoft CRM was a product, Microsoft Great Plains, Microsoft Solomon, Microsoft AX. Those were all ERP packages. Maybe there was some business intelligence wrapped around it, whether it was Power BI or SQL Server reporting services. All of those types of things were more solution-centric. You thought of it as buying CRM. You thought of it as buying ERP. You thought of it as buying Power BI. So with the new Dynamics 365, really what they're trying to do is get rid of this idea of a specific application and instead focus more on the service aspect, or the role of the actors within your company, right? So instead of buying into a application and you need some of it for sales and you need some of it for customer service, instead you buy into the idea that I need a sales solution. I need a customer service solution. I need a field service solution. And so what Microsoft is doing is bundling all of their applications together to fit the role that you need support on. And so how does that end up looking? Well, within the Dynamics 365 environment, you have this idea of plans, apps, and then team members. And so I'll start over here on the plans, right? And so a plan is literally this. What happens if you have those people in your company who encompass multiple roles, right? So in this case here, we're showcasing how somebody might be a lot in operations. They lightly touch the sales process. They're definitely involved in customer service. Maybe they also need field service as well, right? So Microsoft Dynamics 365 is going to provide you with a plan that will give you all of these individual functions built into one single offering, hopefully seamless to the user. If instead that same person only lives within operations, doesn't really touch sales or service or field service, then perhaps they just need a single application or a single app to solve their operations process. This app is not what you think of in the old ways. So the olden days, you would think of an app as CRM. Instead, the app in this operations function might be a combination of these tools that fit the specific application needs of the operations professional. Then finally, you get down to the team member functions. The team is literally those ancillary players that don't necessarily fit within any one of these models. That can be somebody who lightly touches operations. Maybe they're in the workflow process for approving POs, but they're really not running operations. Maybe they have to be part of quote process or quote approvals or project execution as it's related to a sales project. Those might be team members that need visibility into these different apps, but they're not necessarily engaged in working within these apps. Those are called team members. And so when you go to the Dynamic site, there's all these different buckets now, which is a little bit confusing. And the reason why I'm going through this first is just to help you understand how you slice and dice it. If you're coming from Dynamics before, when you were used to the CRM part, I really just want you to focus on these that I have highlighted here. And so the first and foremost one is what they call the customer engagement plan, right? So that's the plan. That's going to be a bunch of apps that are cross-functional. I align this up a lot with the old Microsoft CRM professional license, because if you're both touching sales and service, you're going to want to get the customer engagement plan. If instead you really were just a salesman, you worked with the sales functionality, so those would be leads, prospects, opportunities, and you kind of stuck within that realm, that's the app side of things, applications and offers. That's at the $95 per user per month price point. The final price point is the team license. That's the $8 per user per team. That was kind of equivalent to the old basic license. A lot of people were using basic. Now you can drop down from that $30 price down to $8. So some of these can be viewed as a price increase, while as teams is definitely a price decrease. So when you're looking at licensing across all of your users, hopefully it balances itself out. On the top end of things, these other plans, the Unified Operations Plan is really just ERP only. It's the Dynamics AX functionality. So I'm not really sure how many are thinking of ever going into the cloud for either ERP package, but that would be something to look at there. And then the Dynamics 365 plan itself, the whole plan, is really ERP, CRM. It's got Power Apps. It's pretty much got everything under the sun within the Dynamics 365 umbrella for one single price per user. So there are some deals right now to help you kind of in this transition, right? And so for new customers, if you're a new customer to Dynamics, meaning you've never used Dynamics before, you can get just the sales app for $40 per user per month. Or you can get the sales plus customer service, which was the old pro equivalent, for that same $65. So that is a possibility if you're a new. If you're not new and you're currently, say, an on-premise customer, but you're thinking about going to the cloud, they do have this trade-up offer, right? So in the on-premise, you've already paid for your CALs. So in a trade-up type solution, you can go with the sales app for $35. You can do the pro, which is the sales and customer service, for $40 if you're coming from basic, or if you're coming from a current pro, it's actually $69. So those are the different various price points that you can kind of true up on and get to the cloud if you're interested in doing that. And they'll honor these prices up until December 1st of 2019. Any questions so far on that? Okay, so I'm going to move on. So Dynamics 365, right? This whole version 9 push is really this concept that Microsoft wants to provide you with role-based functionality and help you leverage all that Microsoft has to offer to give you one complete solution. So here in this picture, right, you can see that Dynamics 365 encompasses sales, customer service, field service. They have a marketing play with a partnership through Adobe, as well as they're making their own now. They have a project service automation, which allows you to develop and do project management in and around the sales processes that you've defined. You got finance and operations, whether that's through AX ERP or an NAV ERP. There's talent and acquisition, so the ability to recruit and retain top talent within your company, as well as some retail and other types of store type offerings, whether you're doing that B2B or B2C. Then and around that, obviously it all integrates with Office 365, Power Apps, Power BI, and as well as then there's other additional applications that you can buy. So really, this Dynamics offering is really just as big and just as vast as what Salesforce is offering. This whole push to Dynamics 365 is Microsoft's now initiative to make sure that customers are aware that they do have a full suite offering for pretty much every role within your company. And so let's kind of start. So I'm going to start off with the UI design, right? So we're looking at a picture here of the old Microsoft CRM interface, right? So when I was in the sales dashboard, this is what my dashboard looked like. One of the major complaints about the old CRM was that the interface was just a lot of white. There was a lot of white space. Things could get lost easily. My eyes were not visually drawn into things. So in this perspective, I could get lost and I would have to really read the screen to figure out where I'm at. Instead, with the new interface, they really took the time to try and bring some modern UI development design elements to the fray, as well as provide some contrast to help people localize where they're at on the form so they don't get lost, right? So first and foremost, you can definitely see there's almost like a contrasting difference between the actual form data and the other additional spacing. The header at the top now is a little bit more colored, as well as it's spaced out a little bit better. The headings for each individual section now have a gray kind of and almost like a border to it, as well as then you got wraparound text so that you don't have to necessarily hover over things to really read what's going on. So they've definitely taken the time to just do some subtle style sheet changes to the form itself, just to make it a little bit more readable and a little bit more modern of a web app. In addition to that, they also have this new capability, which they call the Hub. What I'm showing you here is the Sales Hub. So the Sales Hub is, you can almost think of it as this one-pager application. And what I'm finding is that it's actually resonating really, really great with non-techie Salesforce members, ones that might have a hard time with all the buttons and options in the full-featured CRM. They might be able to leverage a Sales Hub uniquely to be able to fit their needs because it's just a much more simplified user interface. This interface here on the Sales Hub is exactly the same interface that you'll see on the phone and on the tablet. So if you've had experience with those apps, that's the same experience you will experience in the web browser. So just giving you, again, another capability there to roll out CRM to maybe some sales team members who might be technology challenged or might have never really used computers in their life. They're used to day timers. This might resonate a little bit better with them. And you can mix and match. So certain users can use the full CRM because they're more power users, while maybe some more basic users can leverage the Hub because it works a little bit more intuitively like they would use. In addition to that, there's some new functionality called Relationship Assistance. So I like to call it like your executive assistant, your personal executive assistant. What if something in CRM was watching you and helping draw out for you phone calls, meetings, late opportunities, all of this stuff that maybe I would have to run reports and read views. Instead, how does this relationship assistant drive these out of CRM and almost like bring that intelligence first and foremost to me. So these relationship assistants, they interact with me either on the dashboard. So that's what I'm showing here is how on the dashboard itself, it can tell me that there's a phone call due today. It might surface opportunities that are closing in the next 7 days. It might talk to me about late quotes or late proposals. As well as this information is also on the drill down. So if I were to open up the customer or the contact as well, I can get that contextual awareness in and around that information. All of that is powered through artificial intelligence with rules that you get to set up. So you get to determine what shows up within the relationship assistant and what doesn't, all through a quick little setup process. And I'll show you that in a second. There's this idea of task flows, and I really love these. So I call it the guided activity, right? So how often in CRM are we trying to coach different people to walk through a sales process, right? So after the meeting, did you book the follow-up? After you logged the opportunity and captured the quote, did you build a follow-up task? Did you build a next step? There's almost like you can think of it like these procedures, almost like a workflow, kind of like you would see down here. And we want our team to follow those. Well, now you can embed those directly inside of CRM, and I'll show you that, such that based upon coming out of a meeting, maybe I capture my notes, maybe I update my contact, and maybe I book my next step, all through a step-by-step type procedure. And by building those task flows into CRM, I do less training. I can basically say, click this and work this workflow after the meeting. Click this and work this workflow when you have a new proposal due. Click this and do this workflow when you want to onboard a new customer, and so on. And the system will start walking the user through the process, as opposed to the user having to know the process and interact with the different parts of CRM to get that to go. So with that, I want to kind of jump in and start taking a look at some of these pieces. So I'm going to jump into CRM. Any questions so far? Okay. So here is the new kind of look and feel for dashboards of CRM, right? So you can see here, as I kind of mentioned, the visuals are a little bit more popping out, right? So instead of it just being this stark white page for a dashboard, it's a little bit easier on the eyes to actually see. The grids itself are a little bit easier to kind of identify. They got the hover over so that I can view from left to right and figure out which record I'm on. In addition to that, the navigation itself is roughly about the same, but when you go into the forms have been cleaned up as well. So for example here, if I go on to Fabricom, what I'm going to notice is that, again, the header is a little bit bolder. The screen spacing between fields is not so run together, so my eyes can gravitate to the information a little bit easier. Here's that relationship assistance card, right? So this is almost like that artificial intelligence piece where it's telling me that an opportunity is closing soon for this customer. Maybe I want to dive into that. So it's bringing that intelligence up front, first and foremost, to the salesman, so that he gets these alerts and awareness pieces without always having to hunt through CRM to find them. So if I come back here, I wanted to show the Sales Hub. So in addition to the standard view of CRM, I also have this newer kind of look, which is called the Sales Hub. And if you ever played around with the Interactive Service Hub in the past, it's very similar to this. All right. So what I like most about this is the simplified approach to what CRM is for the salesman, as well as the quick and easy way in which they can navigate through the system. So this whole toolbar on the side here, it's very reflective of like a basic contact manager like ACT, or something that maybe a salesman might have used long ago. Like for example, if I just need to pull up my chart of accounts, I click on the person and there's my list of contacts. If I wanted to go into my leads, I click on the phone, there's my list of leads. I need to go into my activities, I'm in my activities. So a lot less helping the user understand how to navigate. The navigation bar is always there. It's always prevalent, and they can quickly jump back and forth between their major entities that they have to interact with. I can go into Fabricom from this standpoint. What you'll notice too is it's pretty fast. The salesmen that I've shown this to, they really enjoy the fact that it seems a lot faster than just the normal CRM. You have a unified timeline, right? So back in the full CRM, maybe you're juggling posts and activities and notes and so on. The unified timeline in the hub brings all those together. So they're just going to read it more like a historical list, almost like a Facebook timeline of what's happened with this account. And it's going to merge the activities and the posts and the notes, and it's going to bring them all into one major timeline for that user. You can see here the relationship assistant, it still works. So it's still being exposed in this fashion as well. And again, a lot of the major functionality is still here. So if I wanted to just quickly go ahead and log a new phone call for this Fabricom account, I can just do that right here and there. The one other thing I like about the Sales Hub is the Sales Hub is actually available to the user as a Windows 10 application. So what do I mean by that? Well, if I go into my start bar for Windows 10, I actually have a Dynamics 365 application. And when I load it, it's actually the same thing as the Sales Hub. So now I have a desktop app, which essentially is the same thing that I saw on the web. But for some users, especially basic users, they like clicking on that icon. They like having something. They want to navigate to the web. They want something that's always on and separate from a web browser. So this is Dynamics 365. This is not a web browser, but this is the Sales Hub app embedded inside of this application. And if I wanted to go ahead and navigate, I could go into my list of leads, and there's my leads. And I could click on this again, and I can go into my list of contacts. Or I can just do my global search like I normally do and go right into the contact. And there I am. And so this is a very new and fresh approach to CRM, especially Microsoft CRM, that users might not have seen before, as well as some users might be adverse to using CRM because it seems too complicated. This view of CRM is often a lot less complicated to the user. So we're getting some good capability and good traction on that part. The other part is those task flows, or the last part. So we talked a little bit about these scripted dialogues that you can walk a user through. So maybe I went ahead and I already had a meeting with Joe, and it was a good meeting. And what do I want to do now? I can come to these task flows, and you can have many of them, and they can all be related to certain entities or not. But I can say after the meeting. And so maybe after the meeting, okay, so I can select an existing appointment, or maybe I'm a lazy salesman and now I'm just going to go ahead and log stuff into CRM. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to put this in, right? So I'm capturing the meeting that I had with Joe. Maybe he wants a quote. I can go ahead and save that. And then once I'm here, I'm going to go ahead to the next step. And now it's saying, okay, based upon this meeting, oh, did something wrong there. Try one more time. Based on the meeting, capture my notes. And then once I'm done with the notes, maybe I need to update this contact record too, right? So how many times do I go out of a meeting and maybe I have more information related to this contact, whether I found out, oh, you know what? Joe's spouse's name is Michelle, right? So maybe I want to capture that pretty quick coming out of that meeting. So I've been able to script this after the meeting to try and get that high level contact, or, you know, almost like personalized information when it's fresh in my mind, and walk the user towards capturing that so that he doesn't have to go first to the meeting and then go remember to go back to the Joe Wachowski contact record to put that information in. And then just like that, this contact is now updated and the user can go on about his day. Any questions so far on the user interface, the hub, what the hub can and can't be used for, how it interacts with the desktop, the relationship assistant, or those scripted workflows? Good? Okay. So let's continue on. So in addition to the user interface and these relationships and these almost like scripted dialogues, there's definitely some intelligence that you can start mining out of CRM, and it's included within CRM to help your sales team mine out of CRM, maybe more actionable client lists to work with, or just to ease data entry. And the way we're doing that is through Inside View. It's a capability and it's an entitlement that you all have access to, but not many people are leveraging the power of it. So first and foremost, Inside View, you could think of it as an embedded data.com inside of CRM, right? So the ability to go into CRM, build up a marketing list, and identify customers, right? So in this example here, what I'm showing you is how I did a search on customers in Michigan with 5 to 100 million in sales, product manufacturing, and news within the last 30 days. And I found 12,000 customers for me that I could potentially look at within the Michigan region that I might want to go ahead and target. I can also subscribe to those customers, right? And so when I subscribe to a customer, what I end up getting is daily alerts, or I can choose weekly, of news and information that might be pushed out onto the internet for those customers. So for example, here, I was watching Robert Bosch LLC, and out of nowhere, they had a new news article recently. In fact, it was just yesterday, of Asia Pacific motorcycle AC generator, right? So there's a news article they published, it's from France. I might want to actually read up on that before recommunicating with that client to have just-in-time follow-up or just-in-time information that I can inject into a conversation to let the client know that I'm actually interested more than just selling to them. I'm interested in their business and how they're growing and new capabilities that they have, so that I can help them achieve their goals just as much as I'm trying to achieve mine. In addition to that, there's also pre-sales type functionality too, of just being able to look up a customer before I go and visit them and find out who the key contacts are, and are there any news articles that I might brush up on, and how big are they, and what industry segments, and so on. And all of this is available today inside of CRM that you can start leveraging. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So I'm going to switch back to Dynamics, the full client. And first and foremost, the way it surfaces itself is through this Insights capability. So I'll go into List Build, and I can build a watch list. And so I'll build a new one. And so, again, maybe I'm going to target a new city. Right. So I'll look up Chicago. 3 billion is a little high for me. So maybe I'm going to stick in the 5 to 100 million kind of range. I might want to pick a specific industry segment. So I'll maybe stick with the industrial this time, right? And there's about 1,200 customers, right? So I built this list. I can go ahead and I can save this list. I can export this list. Or more importantly, as I'm kind of going through here, I can select a few customers. You'll see here they start coming in here, and I can basically add them to CRM right from here. So now I can view those accounts. right? And so this went ahead and added it into my primary account here. Let me get back into the demo account that I set up. Keeps flipping me back to my, I obviously made a version 9 demo for this demonstration. It keeps flipping me back to my real CRM, so I just want to make sure I'm in the correct one. There we go. All right. So it added those examples to my other one, but I can show you another way that I can do the exact same thing, right? So I can not only add them from the marketing list, I can build up a list and add those to my list of CRM accounts, assign them to salesmen to go ahead and start bird dogging for me. Or if I'm just a salesman and I'm going to go visit somebody, so in this example here, maybe I'm going to go and visit a company called Plastipack Packaging, right? I can go ahead and save that. As soon as I save it, it does a lookup inside of Inside View. And then here, it's found it right here. And so here's all the information for Plastipack Packaging. Wow, sure would be great for me to have this instead of actually having to go ahead and key it in. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to update the account information in CRM with what's in this Inside View. So I'll click on that and I'll see that there's the logo, home phone, main line, a little description, industry segments, and so on. So I'll just go ahead and update that. It tells me it's successful. And so now I'll come back out here, refresh my screen. Next thing I know, all that information is now synced within the customer. So when we think of things like completeness of data, right? How often do you go into CRM and see that your CRM is lacking industry segment and phone numbers and addresses and so on, right? We're all busy, and keying in 100% of the data might not be our first priority as a salesman. You can leverage Inside View to fill out missing data. Just as much as that, now that I actually have it linked, I can go ahead and I can find contacts for Plastipack, right? So now I'm looking across here and I see, oh, here's the main people at Plastipack that I actually have connections with. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a look at some of these, right? So maybe I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to look at Daniela because she's a board member. What I'm going to notice that I can connect with Joe Ward over at Burn Electrical because he is a previous coworker with Daniela. And so same thing with Steve Williams. So there are these connections that it's mining for me out of LinkedIn, as you can see here, that I'm connected with that could put me in touch with Daniela. So I can grab all that information direct from here, say, yes, I want to go ahead and I want to target her. So I will do that. I'll check mark her, and maybe I'll also check mark Pradeep and Joe. And I'm also going to add these guys to CRM. And I can choose to add them as a contact or a lead. That's really your choice. But since I've already filled out the account, I'm going to go ahead and add them as a contact. And so when I go back to my main Plastipack record and I go into my list of contacts, I'm going to see that those contacts are now been brought in. And not only they've been brought in, but they brought in completely, right? Full CRM data, not missing pieces of information. So I did all of that as a heads up to going to visit Plastipack, and I didn't have to key in anybody's information. And I now know of 4 or 5 good contacts that when I go out there and meet, I might be able to drop their name or reference them as I'm meeting with whoever I'm meeting with. And that's all built into CRM. It's a matter of enabling it, and it's been much, much improved as far as the interaction piece in version 9. Any questions on that? Okay. Rolling on. So Inside View, as I showed you, it has pieces of Inside View that link into LinkedIn and can help drive those connection points to me. But by and large, there's a new exciting capability of direct linking into LinkedIn via not just myself, but my entire company. And it's done via this product called LinkedIn Sales Navigator. And so what LinkedIn Sales Navigator is, it's a option inside of LinkedIn to let you do selling through LinkedIn, mining and selling through LinkedIn. And then what Dynamics does is Dynamics now dynamically links it inside of it, such that if I'm working an opportunity, I can mine information of LinkedIn directly inside an opportunity or a contact or a lead. So here in this case, right, what we're looking at is here's an opportunity for tablets. Because of the contacts that were referenced in the opportunity related to this opportunity, the LinkedIn linkage, the Sales Navigator in LinkedIn automatically brought out Anna, who was referenced on this tablet. But more importantly, I can see icebreakers related to her, right? So we both worked at Chess Networks, right? So I can see that as I'm inside of CRM just as much as I can do that direct inside of LinkedIn as well. So that unified interface. In addition to that, maybe I want to get introduced. Who else could introduce me to that person, right? It would be Jerry and John and these people that I can also identify as leads. I might also want to add them into CRM as well. So again, just kind of really trying to figure out who are these large accounts that we know of and how do we mine every single person within them to better target these accounts. In addition to that, there's a whole social selling part, which I'm also going to show you. That is an entitlement inside of Dynamics. Not just leveraging LinkedIn, but how do I look across all of these social channels to not just find actionable intelligence and build up leads and potential opportunities for myself, but more importantly, how do I elevate myself as a salesman and make sure that when people Google or search across the internet for Traction Consulting Group, how do I make sure I own that first page? How do I make sure that people immediately find me on LinkedIn and on Twitter and on Facebook? Because believe it or not, people are doing all of their own homework before they contact you. And they're often trying to find the experts in the industries. And the way by which you elevate your expertise in your industry is by being immediately searchable across all of these types of tools. And so I'm going to show you that part of it. So I'm not sure if anybody's used the social engagement part of CRM yet, but this is what it looks like. And so what you can do with it is this. You can do some very, very basic type stuff. So what I did is I went ahead and I made a search setup. And what I did is I gave it some keywords. And so when I look at my search topic here, the topic I called is CRM. And really what I'm looking for is a couple different words inside of the keyword, right? So it's looking for Dynamics 365 and it's looking for Microsoft CRM. I'm not looking for matches where it says developer or a candidate because I don't want employment type stuff. I'm looking for more industry news and happenings and maybe even people asking for help related to these. Once you have the search set up, you can then go into your analytics. And so what this does is it starts combing the various different social networks out there. So you can see here, it's looking at Twitter, it's looking at blogs, it's looking at forums, it's looking at YouTube, and it's looking at news articles. And now it's building this profile for me. So you can see here over the last 30 days, because I'm looking at the month, these are the key phrases that it found. These are the trends. This is the overall sentiment. So I can dive into any specific piece, and so maybe I want to look at just the sales part. And once I'm dived into this, I notice that, okay, there's a lot of tweeting going on. There's also a few videos. Maybe I want to take a look at the videos aspect. So I click on videos. It spins it all around that piece of it. And now I can look at the specific posts and notice that, oh, okay, out there is what is customer insight analytics, right? And so maybe somebody made a video out there to help others kind of know it. Maybe I want my team to review this. I can simply do that by the assign. I can assign this post to either myself, another person in my company, maybe my team members. And when they get it assigned, they get an email notification that they should review this post inside social engagement because maybe it's good education for them, or maybe it's something that they have to actually follow up on. The other way to spin it is within the social selling aspect of it. So in the social selling piece, this is how I build up my credibility. And so what it's going to do is it's going to look for articles and news postings that I am interested in. And based upon that, it's going to give me options to share them or retweet them or build up my profile based upon other people's intelligence, right? So right from here, I can see here's a great Dynamics Connect enables users around the thing. Maybe I want to review it, right? I can go and right click on it. That's hopefully going to open up in a new tab, which it did. Right, so here's the article. Maybe this is interesting news. Maybe I just want to go ahead and republish it, which I can do pretty quickly with the share. I can send this to, maybe I want to take it to LinkedIn. I can type in a few comments and I can send it off. I don't have to go into Link to cross-post this. I don't have to go into Twitter to cross-post this, the Facebook page, the home page. This helps me build up my credibility because I'm sharing information just as much as I can retweet it, or I can just copy this to the clipboard and I can actually make my own post myself as well. So a lot of capability in just taking information that's already out there and engaging my readers and my people. So when they look at me as an industry expert. What am I sharing with my LinkedIn contacts? What am I sharing with our Facebook homepage? What am I sharing with on Twitter? Because I want people to, when they look up my name, to see me as somebody who's plugged into industry and sharing industry news with others. That makes me an educated expert. And if I'm an educated expert, I'm much more qualified to help you and your client as opposed to you having to do research on me. You don't know anything about me. Now I'm backpedaling when I come in and trying to sell myself and sell the company when you've already done 70% of your homework before I've even showed up in the door. So social engagement is really a great, simple, and free tool that you can use right now to build up the credibility of your sales force, because more and more buyers are doing their research before you even enter in their door. And they're doing it on social media. So if you don't have a social media presence, it's not about selling through it. It's about looking like the expert through social media. And this tool can simplify that for just about everybody in your company. Got about 5 minutes left. I want to take some questions if you have some. So I'm just going to kind of rip through these. Customer Service Hub, right? So just as much as I showed you the Sales Hub, Customer Service also has a simplified view of CRM if need be. So again, just kind of trying to dummy down the complexity behind maybe what a full user might need, and instead give the basic blocking and tackling to the service personnel so that they can focus on servicing the customer first and not so worry about the application after. Live Assist. This is also a new offering inside of Dynamics. This allows you to put a widget inside of your website. And as users interact with your website, your customer service agent or your sales agents can interact back. And so what it's showing here in this background picture over here is, forwarded forward, is I'm on CRM, I'm working a case, somebody's on our website, and it happens to be Abby, and Abby connects in with me, and we're going to have a chat session, all while I'm working her case. So one screen, one unified screen, allowing me to interact with CRM just as much as I'm interacting with the user in a chat session on the website. And in this chat session, I can take control of their website. I can see what they see. I can circle things on the website. I can even navigate for them on the website. I can record the session so that this way we can play it back. And then more importantly, I can automate a lot of these channels now such that I can build a little robot up front that might do a lot of basic frequently asked questions with users up front, so give them 24/7 service. And only then, when the user wants to interact with somebody live, direct them to an appropriate sales agent or whatnot. So Live Assist is definitely a great new capability of CRM that, again, it integrates what users are seeing on your website with your sales and service personnel behind your firewall and give you that unified capability of browsing with them, answering questions with them, and letting them get, instead of basically sending in an RFI for a quote, letting them get a live quote, right? Interacting with you right now to get that quote now, as opposed to having to send in an email, the email gets routed to sales, the salesperson contacts the person back. You've already lost momentum. Maybe they've already gone to a different website or a different competitor and already gotten immediate feedback. This lets you do it all live. Intelligence and reporting. There's also some big data capabilities now inside of CRM. And the way it surfaces itself really is what they call customer insights. So again, if you feed the artificial intelligence in Microsoft Dynamics with all of your data, if you allow it to read all of your data and you build out, I guess you could say, these inferences, including sales, they can come back and automatically score your customers and help you understand which customers are in danger of churning, flipping over, maybe looking for different competitors and so on based upon previous history. This is all done through artificial intelligence, and the more data you can throw at it, the more accurate of a prediction it can make for you. So leveraging things like how many emails and communications are coming in from a customer, what's the sentiment of that email, how many visits are we doing, how many projects are we doing, how many opportunities are we closing, how many contacts are we knowing and new contacts are we identifying. All of these different types of information can be sent up into an artificial intelligence program that then calculates these scores for you on a daily basis. This just provides you with another window on looking across the vast number of clients, especially if you have a lot of smaller ones and transactional ones, to help you identify which ones might be your next whale, just as much as which whale might be looking across the aisle and not necessarily engaging you as much as they used to in a predictive way. And then finally, embedded Power BI. So in Dynamics, there's some dashboarding functionality, but it's kind of limited. Power BI now lets us go to the nth degree. And now we can embed Power BI directly inside of Dynamics CRM so that a user doesn't have to navigate between systems. It truly is just one page, one system, including things like giving them a map to be a lot more aware of their sales or their visits or their activities. As well as, because this is a single report, when you're working with Power BI, as you click on one tile, it respins the numbers around all the other tiles. So giving users drill down analytics inside of Dynamics, or combining Dynamics with ERP data in a live fashion. All that's possible with Power BI. And then the final part is the integration pieces, right? So just two quick pieces is virtual entities. Virtual entities are essentially that. It's the idea that you can make something in CRM that looks like a CRM record. So here you have cog, gear, and wheel. These are what's called active widgets, but these widgets are actually in another database somewhere else. And we've accessed that through what's called OData, and we can expose OData from any ERP. So if you think about it, how many times would it have been great to literally just have your master customer list be an ERP instead of being an ERP and in CRM? Well, now that's totally possible with these virtual entities, or looking up orders, or looking up projects, or returns, or RMAs. All of those can be dynamically linked into CRM so that we're not doing complicated data integration. Whenever I open up the RMA list, it's going to read them from ERP and show them to me inside of CRM, all live, all under the behind the curtain without the user having to worry about, is the data old, is it fresh, is it stale. And then the final part is Microsoft Flow. So Microsoft Flow is a very, very new capability, but full featured. So I look at this as that um, extended toolkit to get data from any system into any system, including Dynamics. So here are some examples here, right? So creating a lead from an Excel table. What does that mean? That means if somebody in your marketing department was exporting leads out or updating leads into an Excel table, let's make sure we get those into CRM and into the hands of a salesman. That's all possible with this Microsoft Flow. When a new opportunity is created, post it to some type of social channel, maybe internally, like a Yammer, or if you're using a HubSpot or any of those other types of social types of engagement tools inside of your company, spreading the good news. Coming up with a Dynamics button that executes something else. Maybe you want to go from Dynamics into some other type of software as a service type of product, like Smart Sheets, for example. Copying that data over, all of that can be done in a visual format using Microsoft Flow. So that's about the gist of what's new in Dynamics. I hope that gives you a stronger understanding of some of the things that maybe you're not using in Dynamics, that now with version 9, since they've been much improved, might be a good time to start taking a look at those within your organization, as well as give you a heads up of the new look and feel of what this thing is really going to kind of be. As you kind of saw, there's some differences that might require some training for your team, but at the same time, if you don't have Dynamics yet, or you don't roll out all these features, wow, some amazing capabilities, especially with simplifying the data acquisition part, as well as making your users a whole lot more of a social presence online to make them a more credible sales team. Nothing could be better than Dynamics 365. So with that, my formal presentation is done. So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to take those now.